Okie dokie then peeps. Now we normally start at the top in the front, but to be fair, there's not a massive amount on the top apart from the little window, which we will cover in a minute. So what I decided to do is we'll just start straight dead on the front to starters. So I know a lot of people who are going to ask about this mark, but we'll cover that in a little minute, so you know, calm yourselves down. So straight away, looking dead at the front, up in this top left hand corner we have the power button, which has the hard drive activity light and the power light up there. We've got a reset button recessed here. This is your optical bay, which you can obviously take out and fit your optical drive in should you wish. 2 USB 3s, headphone and microphone on the front, all standard kind of stuff. And we do have a removable panel, but all of this kind of aluminium section, because it's aluminium panel, brushed aluminium anodized panel on the front, and it comes with a sticker attached to it. You know, the stuff that we used to like on the front of our phones and stuff, and you have to pick it off and peel it. Now this that you can see is residual glue, and it can happen with these, but this one seems to have happened a little bit worse than normal with the old 250D. So while we're covering it, I thought I'd show you a little trick quick, and that's you can just get some Tim cleaner. There's lots of different brands out there. It doesn't really matter what one you have. Most of us have it because we clean our CPUs off, and a bit of kitchen towel, kitchen roll. This is tissue paper, but the thick kind of stuff that you use in your kitchen. For all of you Americans out there that don't understand what I'm about when I say kitchen roll. But anyway, get a bit of this, put your Tim cleaner onto your kitchen roll, and then what you can do is give it a good old going over. Now when you do it, what you need to remember is this is grain, so I'm going up and down with the grain. I sound like your technology teacher in your woodwork class, but you go up and down with the grain, and this will eventually dry off. Now I'm hoping when it's dried off I've got it off, because I've done a little bit beforehand. I'm just trying to show you before and after, but when that dries off, you can see it starting to come through. You can see it starting to dry off in the lights there now. But when it does dry off, the glue won't be there anymore. You have it on this, and you may have to use a few bits of kitchen towel or kitchen roll or whatever you want, but that's the way to get your glue off when you have residual stuff like that. Just a simple bit of Tim cleaner. I actually use Tim cleaner to clean my monitors with as well. Not that I seem to do it very often. But anyway, that's your trick. So, other parts on the front panel. You've got two little push button switches up here to release the front. It's just one of those click to release, click to lock. And then that front panel comes off. You can see the plastic front, the plastic rear and the aluminium front. And that is starting to dry off now. You can see the glue's gone. Anyway, so when we remove that panel, it exposes the dust filter here for the front intake. And the front intake's about 10 millimeters away from the actual front panel, and there's a fair bit of ventilation through the side, so it's not very restricted at all. We can take the dust filter out, and that again is very easy to remove and replace and clean. You can obviously wash it, and you can see inside there that we have a 140 millimeter fan, although it is an AF140 as well. We have mounts here that you can use a 120 fan should you wish, and these mounts around the outside are for a 200 millimeter fan. So you could, if you wanted to, fit a 120, a 140 or a 200 mil fan in the front, but when we get inside you'll see that there's not really much room in there for that type of thing, and I'll show you probably your best options are probably elsewhere if you want to start thinking about liquid cooling. So I'm just going to fit the front back on, and now you can start to see even more there that the glue is gone. I know this bit is where I put the first wipe, that's still drying off. But yes, so that's how you do that bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep you on the camera, because I'm actually just going to spin the case around. I'm going to watch what I'm doing. There we go. Anyone think I've done this before? So, round the back, couple of little things with it really. You've got these two fan mounts at the back. I'm just going to kind of measure them up because I've not looked. 80mm fan mounts. Now I have to admit, you could obviously have 80mm fans up in there should you wish. But something I will say is 80mm fans, for them to move a decent amount of air, they're going to be quite noisy, and they nearly always are as well. So from the way that I've been looking at this case, I would probably leave these without a fan in, which is probably why Corsair have left it as well. Just concentrate on getting a decent positive air pressure on the inside of the case, and this should become like a natural kind of exhausting point for the rest of the case. Yeah, that would be my advice anyway. Obviously you can see that we've got a full-sized power supply in the bottom here. This side actually is where you put your hard drives. I'm just trying to find a screwdriver quickly now, because I always forget to get these when I'm actually meant to be making the video. And you access this by the 4 thumb screws. I'm just going to loosen these off and then Okay then, so thumb screws are out. Literally it's got a little lip on one side, and you can see where the 2 rivets are, so you can't get it the wrong way round or anything. But anyway, remove that, and then we have some mechanical mounts, and the mounts are literally just pull it, you know, spread and click. That's what she said. Oh yeah. So we've got 2 3.5 inch, and then we've got 2 2.5 inch. We've got a solid state drive in this top one already. The reason why I've not taken it all the way out is there's cables on the inside. But anyway, so we've got 2 solid state drives, 2 what I would call storage drives. So you've easily got your RAID 0 array there, and the possibility of having a couple of mechanical hard drives in there as well. Nice use of the space, stuck out the way. Some people might not like the fact that you can only really get access to these from the outside of the case, but each their own. Also up here, classic kind of graphics mount really, because if we go, I'm just going to undo these, because the mount actually slides up. It's quite difficult to get to with the roof on actually, but you're not really going to be messing around with the graphics card with the plate in, and that slides up out of the way. So when you build your rig, you have to lift this up to put your graphics card in, and then your screws that that fix your graphics card in place that you would be so used to having on the inside of your case are actually on the outside of the case, and they screw through your graphics card, which doesn't really make a lot of difference really, as long as it's in there. I can't get it because of that roof, so I'm going to have to remove the remove the roof screw, and you can see, right, that's that there in. Right, so that's that. Now what I am going to do is I'm just quickly off camera, I'm going to loosen all these panel screws off, and then we're going to start working our way round to have a look from each different angle. Okay then peeps, so moving on to the first of the side panels. This is the front and this is the back section, just to give you your bearings, and this is what we're going to call the CPU side panel. But I do want to kind of tell you just quickly, I did forget to tell you about the dust filter for the power supply, because yeah, I forgot that when we were on the other side. Anyway, so that's now back in. So this side panel just simply slides off. When we tip it straight round, we can see that we've got some easily removable, which means easily cleanable, magnetic dust filtering mesh. It's exactly the same really as what they use in the bottom of the 900D. I will also say this is the type of stuff I think they should have had for the power supply for the 540. But anyway, putting that down on the floor, what we can see here, this larger, thicker section here is where your mechanical hard drives will live. The smaller bit above is where your solid state drives will live, and then you've got some cable management areas here. In fact, I'm going to leave this off now and we'll take them off as we go around. I've got H100i fitted in the top, so you can see that we do have mounts for 120mm fans. They're all 120mm mounts actually. This bracket is removable should you want to. Maybe you want some better access for your CPU cooler, or something like that, whatever. But we can see here there's a screw here and a screw here, and you can just lift this bracket out, and all it is really doing is holding on to the bottom of this radiator. Anyway, what I'm going to do now, stop the camera again, spin the old girl round, and we'll take a look from the other side. Okay then, so we're on the other side again. Side panel off, same magnetic dust filter on there, same size mesh, everything. In fact, if you have a look, the mesh design is exactly the same as you would find on the bottom of the 900D. But what we can see from this side now, we've got the power supply in the bottom. The end of the power supply section is open-ended, so you could get, this is an RM750 in here at the moment, you could get a longer power supply in if you wanted, which on some of the other ITX cases you can't. But I would probably try and stick to this, because once you start getting bigger, I can't see why you'd want more wattage from a larger one anyway. But you do need this area really for your cables. Now that's not a, you know, a case design problem, because this is a nice little area for your cables. The only thing I would say is there are quite a few power supply manufacturers out there now making shorter cables because of the popularity of these cases, and obviously the steam boxes and the like starting to filter through. So I think it probably would be a good idea that Corsair maybe did offer these lovely black cables that they do send out with their power supplies in a shorter kit. Now what we can see here is we've got a normal graphics card in here. It's fairly long length. It's the Power Color R9290. If we go from the back to the front, I'd say you've probably safely got about 290mm of room, risky 300mm of room for graphics cards in there. So pretty much almost every graphics card is going to fit in this, unless you've got one of the old enormous 590s or something. But one thing I will say is I'm just going to take the screw out from the roof panel, because slide it, Thomas, there we go. So you can see the roof panel and you can see the window on it there. It's ever so slightly tinted. Now I'm going to leave that off for the section for the minute, because what I wanted to say was this is obviously a normal sized graphics card that's in line with the PCI slot. But if your graphics card comes more than 30mm out from the PCI slot, then it's not going to fit in this case. The only graphics card I've found that won't fit in this so far, and this is something that's worth noting, is this case is not compatible with the Asus DirectCU II graphics cards. I've tried the 290X, the 780 and the 780 Ti. They're all roughly the same cooler, and they're a bit fatter, but they also have a big heat pipe that comes out the top of the graphics card. It's that heat pipe is probably about 3mm too tall, and you can't get the side panel or the roof panel, sorry, on properly. So if you are thinking about buying the 250D, I can confirm the DirectCU II, the more recent of the DirectCU II cards, like I've just mentioned, will not let you fit the roof panel on properly. It just doesn't do it. You'd end up having like a little cutout, like some of the modders do with the big turbo that's kind of hanging out the bonnet of a car or something. I don't particularly think it would work. So yeah, just kind of bear that in mind. If you've got a DirectCU II already, it won't work in this case. If you're thinking about buying it, then again, it's not going to work in this case. I would rethink your choices. Now what I am going to do is I'm going to, in fact, I don't need to. I was going to change the way I had the case, but I do need to change the lighting. So if you just bear with me 2 minutes, you can stare that. There we go. We can see it a little better now. So what we'll do is we'll turn it this way to the start. Now I have got the H100i fit in there, as I've said previously, and you can see that it's pretty much right up against the end of the riser car on the Asus Impact that I've got fitted. The memory's not in there at the minute. I will tell you why. It's because we've just been using it in one of the TNR videos that we've just done. Obviously this isn't powered on at the minute, so it doesn't really matter. We keep having to swap the Vengeance Pro about. Anyway, the most important thing that I do want to show you from this view is that. Now, there is a blue Asus Z87 that has this riser card as well as the Asus Impact. But what you can see is with the Corsair H100i, they've actually kind of pretty much designed it around the Impact, because you can see that the barbs for the H100i are literally mil perfect for the riser card, and you can get this all fit in absolutely fine. So, and you can see that I've got the fans on the outside and they're blowing in, but you could have the radiator pushed up against the side. It really doesn't matter. The point that matters is there is enough room for you to be able to mount the H100i and the impact in, even with this riser card. A lot of people have been kind of hinting and asking also about the H105, but if we kind of tilt this way, you can see that there is very little room between the H100i and the impact riser card. There definitely isn't an extra 11mm of room, so sadly no, the H105 does not fit the 250D. Also, if we turn it this way, you can get, right, we'll move it over that way a little bit, Tom. There we go. You can get a little idea about, you can see that there's ample room for a normal length graphics card on this side, but it's those extra height ones that you're going to have difficulty with. Now, just quickly, I'm going to spin the case around because this seems to be the easiest way for me to be able to show it to you, rather than, you know, trying to mess around with lights and all that kind of thing. Although, to be fair, the lights are blinding me because they're so close right now. But you can see the 140mm, and it's, as I've said before, it's an AF140 in there. And you can see that there's a fair amount of room in front of the case here, in front of the fan here, sorry. So you could, technically, if you wanted to, you've got the H105, there is enough room here, you probably could get another radiator in. Now, the reason why I'm saying radiator is obviously you've got room here. You could get, if I just zoom out, you could get a 30mm radiator in on this side, and you could probably get away with fitting a 140 in the front. I think if you were to use a 200, I think you'd probably be very, very close if you're going to have a 30mm thick radiator on this side and a 200 in the front. For those of you that are thinking about doing it, what I would probably suggest is to have a little bit of a dry run first and see how you get on. I've not got access to one at the minute, and to be fair, I don't want to be changing, you know, 50 million different radiator combinations and stuff in this. I'm going to go as far as to say I personally think it would be too tight. By the time you add the radiator and then the edge thickness, I think you probably foul the other rad. If you were looking at a 140 radiator, I think you could get that in there. And looking at the distances that we've got, if you didn't have a large power supply, you could easily get a 80mm thick 140 in the front, or you could get a 80mm thick 120 in the front, or if you're going to go 60mm thick 120 or 140, that would then also allow you the possibility of running push-pull. So there are water cooling options in the front. You've got some very limited water cooling options in the side, but there's no real other place that you could put anything. One thing I will say is if you do put a radiator in the front and a radiator in the side, you're going to have to get very creative where you want your pump and your reservoir to go, because it is still a very compact chassis. Of course, I feel so out of breath today. Anyway, so moving slightly upwards, because the light seems to like looking at the top of the case there, you can get a better view of how the impact looks. You can see that it's pretty much half the kind of distance from the front to the back is the motherboard, and then the rest is room for kind of airflow and stuff. So it is very compact, but then again it has to be. You're not going to want a massive case for an ITX case, and I think it's probably thick enough already. You can see that we've got the 8-pin and everything over here, but that's more motherboard specific. But we have got the internal USB 3 going on there. So I think the most important thing that we can take from this is you can get H100i in it fine. You can possibly get a radiator in the front. Something that I will say is that I've not tried it, because people are going to ask about the Kraken. And I personally don't think that we're going to have enough room on this side to be able to get the Kraken in with the fan and then still be able to try and get hoses and everything round, because obviously you could end up running the, say for argument's sake, a H60 in the front to cool down the graphics card. I don't think there's going to be enough room for that, but that again could be something that you could explore yourself. I've got one here, but I've just not had time to get round to it with everything else. Obviously I've had to try and get the H105 and the 250D ready for the same day, so I've not even got to my Kraken yet. But anyway, I personally don't think there's going to be enough room for that on the other side. Right then, so H100i fits. Obviously that does mean you can fit the H60 in the side or the H75 in the side should you want to. We've got room in the front should you want to stick, for argument's sake, a H80 or something, H80i, sorry, in the front. Or maybe you'd want your H75 mounted in the front and you'd like a bit more, you know, just unrestricted airflow from a pair of 120s or something in the side. So there's lots of cooling options. I think my only advice would be, don't think about putting fans or anything up here. If you keep the positive airflow going in the case, then that's naturally then going to try and find the quickest way out, which is more than likely going to be this or down round the back where your hard drives are, because there's no active fan or anything around there. And that's a point really that Corsair could kind of like take a hint from with the 540, is they put the mechanical hard drives in the active section of the 540 when this has no, you know, massive active airflow or anything. It's mostly all going to end up coming out here, but the air will find its way up past those hard drives, you know, because it is ventilated anyway. Oh, deep breaths, Thomas. So that's really about it. I'm looking around trying to find things that I can tell you. Obviously we've got enough room on the side of the graphics card here for your PCI Express cables. We could fit the PCI Express cables on the DirectCU II. It was the heat pipe that come out the side that was our problem really. So kind of keep that in mind. I'm definitely going to go with DirectCU II not supported at all. Anyway, I think it's now time for me to shut my mouth and we can break off and start talking about a conclusion. Okay peeps, so swiftly moving on to the conclusion, and I need to take this door panel back off again. What I am going to do is we'll start with the award and then we will move, you know, and talk about my thoughts on all the different points as we kind of go through. Now I found it in the UK for 71 quid, or around the £71 mark, which generally on 3 or 4 different e-tailers that I checked in the UK put it around 2 GBP, £2 more expensive than the Prodigy. And the reason why I mentioned the Prodigy so soon is when the 250D was first announced, some of the comments that I saw quite regularly were people saying about, oh, it's just a Prodigy rip-off. And to be fair guys, I am going to say something now. As far as it being a Prodigy rip-off is, it's got the motherboard above the power supply. That's really it. So if you're with that thinking, any case that's had the power supply at the bottom and the motherboard above, that would have then stemmed back to, you know, years and years and years ago. That really is the only kind of similarity. You could say, oh my god, it's a rip-off of the Prodigy because there's got a fan in the front, but it's kind of idiotic. So I don't think it's kind of fair to say that. There's only so many things that you can do with the case, and like I said, they've got the motherboard facing upwards with the power supply underneath. That really is where the similarities end. There's no hard drive cages in the front because they've been moved to the other side, get out the way. Also in the Prodigy, the end of the power supply section is closed off and you've got a grommet that you have to put the cables through. With the 250D, that's actually open, so it gives you the option of putting, you know, bigger power supplies through if you want. It does mean that it can be slightly harder for you to mount your cables, because obviously with the Prodigy you can just kind of shove them all back in and hopefully that they'll stay there so people can't see. But with this, it's open, so it gives you a few more options. That then, talking about power supplies, leads me on to something that I would like to say to Corsair directly, and I'm going to... Oh, I could have done it this way, couldn't I? So we do it like this, and we get the magic buttons out and we go, woo! Corsair, please can we have some individually braided kits that are shorter? Kind of like me. Not like that, little bit like that. And the reason why we want it is you've released all these individually braided cables anyway. Now, we do know that these individually braided cable sets are compatible with the new RM power supplies and also the AXI power supplies, or at least one set of those individually braided cables are. But anyway, so you can get some that do both. If we could have just maybe the black set as being shorter, so more of a European size, that would then mean that it would make things easier for us to cable route these, because where the case is so compact now, and you've obviously got your ITX with a power supply and a motherboard are just sandwiched next door to each other, we don't need humongous great big long cables. So it would be very, very nice if we could have some shorter cables, please, even if you want to charge us the same price as the longer cables, if that's all right. Thank you. So, back to normal. Right, so that's my plea for shorter cables, because I think everyone's going to fucking want them. There are other manufacturers out there that do shorter cables. So Corsair, you do need to kind of get your arse in gear and just tell the factory wherever they make them to make them that little bit shorter. Please, thank you very much, Mrs. Patterson. Wonder if anyone will get that reference. Get it in the comments. Right, so the other thing, graphics card, obviously DirectCU II is a no-no. I would be kind of interested to see how many other reviews kind of ended up mentioning that in the end, because it will kind of mean that they've probably looked at mine. But anyway, yeah, DirectCU II graphics card ain't going to fit in this. When we are talking about kind of components and stuff like that, I think the way I've got this laid out is probably the way you want to go. You can obviously see that the H100i and the Impact or the Z87 Asus that they did with the riser cards, you can see that it's literally millimetre perfect that the hoses go through the gap between the I/O at the back and the riser card. Now that's not a coincidence, that's because Corsair did design it around this motherboard. But obviously you do have other motherboards out there that are going to that will fit this fine, and you'll still be able to get the H100i. And you may run into some SATA problems with some boards. The MSI, for example, the SATA's up where the hoses would come through, but Silverstone do those very compact SATA cables. They're dead easy to route as well, and very short. So if you do run into any issues with that, grab yourself some of them. So really, we've got the Gold Award. There's ample cooling in it, because obviously you can have the side fans blowing in if you want, and you can also have the front fan, as I would still have it blowing in as well. I'd probably have all the fans blowing in quite strangely with this, because there is no real exhaust. And that will just mean that the air will then naturally have to find its way out, and it should also be able to help with your dust management. Also with the dust, all of the main intake points on the card, so the side panel, the front, this side as well, you have got the magnetic, the dust filter panels, just like we had on the 900D, and you can take those off and wash them, hoover them with the little brushy thing on your hoover or whatnot. So there's ample options there, but it is nice that we've got the window finally. I know you have to kind of stand up to see it, but would you rather have had a window over your graphics card and less cooling? I don't know, especially, I know if you've got a water block there, it would have been nice. But anyway, and if that then does tickle your fantasy, so you're now saying to me, yes Tom, we want a window by our graphics card because we're going to water cool it, then get your Dremel out, because Corsair have made your little indentation in there already, so you can Dremel out that section, and then all you need is some double-sided tape on the other side, push it in, lovely, it will be done nice and simple, and then all you have to do is bish bash bosh, fit it, window, job done, and it will mean that your case is slightly more custom to the next one. But essentially they've gone with the dust filter on the side, so that it's easier for you to cool your graphics cards, because the majority of you are going to end up with air-cooled graphics cards. And it also doesn't mean whether your fan's up this end or your fan's up this end. And then your window's still in the roof. If you want a bigger window, it's pretty much over where your motherboard's going to be anyway. But if you want a bigger window, again, you've still got a fair amount of real estate here. You could easily extend it, should you wish. And it would actually be pretty easy as well, because you could fit the window underneath these side latches and it's not going to affect anything else. So you could put a bigger bit of acrylic in there and bush bam, bigger window in the roof. So there's a fair few, a few little touches you can do if you want to customise it as well. So it's well priced, within a couple of quid of the Prodigy, which was obviously marketed right from the very beginning as being a very I don't want to say cheap, but well priced case. The size is there. It's compact enough that it's it houses everything quite tightly, because you're not going to want an enormous ITX case, but I think they've kind of balanced the mix of high performance hardware and size quite well. It almost does feel like someone's kind of, because it's about the same width as a 350D, and it's almost like someone's chopped a 350D in half or something. That's kind of the way it's making me feel anyway. I know it's shorter as well, but you get the kind of gist that I'm saying. So it's well priced, nice mix of size and performance, and it's well built as well. It's quite sturdy, it's not flimsy or anything like that. Nice kind of like plastic on the windows, the finish and everything's quite nice. So for 70 quid, I do think it's a very good price. People are now going to be comparing it to lots of other cases, but you need to kind of compare cases for cases that are kind of in the same sort of size. So you need to be comparing ITXs to ITX cases, and they are pretty much all around the £70 to £100 mark. So the fact this comes in at the lower end of the big hitters is a definite win-win. So there's no harm in having options out there. So we've got another ITX case that we can choose. I think the only real place that this falls down over the Prodigy is this is only going to come in black. So yet again, Corsair, I say it with all of the Obsidian cases, please can we have a white one? Please can we have a white one? Because really the colour options is, from what I can see, it's really the only real big place where the Prodigy can make a gained distance in maybe being able to swing people's choices one way or the other. The fact that that one has got loads and loads of different colours, but it has been out a long time as well, so rather than updating the case, they've just been putting new dye in the plastic bin when they've been making it. But anyway, this is the Corsair 250D. It's won the OC3D Gold Award, and this is Tiny Tom Logan with a rather confusing ending. Out. Dong! Only the regulars are gonna get that.